We'll start off with the European Championship. Ross Smith, the newest first-time major winner in the PDC, beating Michael Smith 11-8 in Sunday evening's final. And we've got two questions about Ross Smith on the show this week. Well, the first of them, though, is just that run that he had to the title at the weekend. How impressed were you with that run and as a 150-1 outsider before the start of the tournament?
Yeah, and if we went back a few months, his odds would have been even longer than that because he really was struggling at the beginning of the year. That's why he did not qualify for the World Match Play. That's why he had to go on a run at the back end of the year just to get into the World Grand Prix. He just was not kicking on at the start of the year. And it wasn't just that he wasn't getting results. It was that he wasn't playing well at all. It seemed like he had not taken 3-4 steps back, and he wouldn't have been the first person. He broke through last year. He won a title. But you look at players who have won titles and then stagnated over time. You've had, Keegan Brown finally kicking on this year and winning a second title. But you had just a few years ago, Devin Peterson. We've seen Josh Payne and other players. And it was starting to look like Ross Smith was going to be in that same mold. But boy, has he righted the ship. And it wasn't just this past weekend. It's really been starting with Players' Championship events in the middle of the year in May and June when he started to win a couple boards. And then just recently at the most recent set, making his first quarterfinal of the year in the Players' Championship events. None of that, though, made you think that he had a major championship in him, even though his game has improved, even though he's been playing at a top 32 standard, which is in line with his ranking. Nothing made you think he was going to win this tournament. But from the start of the tournament, he was one of the 2 or 3 best players. Granted, the person he beat in the final was also one of them. Go to that first round, averaged over a ton against Joe Cullen. Second round, averaged over a ton against Dimitri Vandenberg. Quarterfinal, only averaged 95 against Peter Wright. But remember, Ross Smith took the first session of that match off, fell behind 4-0, fell behind 8-3, and really wasn't playing at his best, and then reeled off 7 legs in a row. And okay, you can say Peter Wright missed a bunch of darts at double, but Ross Smith punished him. He took advantage, and he punished him. And then against Chris Dobie, he let Dobie back in the match near the end, but it always seemed like he was going to win, and he found his way over the line. And then in that final, that has to be performance of the year so far, and it will take something to beat it. The average in the end was 101, but he was averaging nearly 105 when they went off the stage for the final time with him up 9-6. Though really the only time Michael Smith was ever given a sniff was in that final session. But he was just been battered so much, despite the fact that Michael Smith was playing really well. He was just battered so much by Ross Smith's scoring and Ross Smith's finishing that he had nothing to give when Ross Smith finally dropped a level in those final 4 legs. But in the end, when he got to the finishing line, he got over it. Checking out 25 last dart in hand. And it was not something I would have thought when the weekend began. But by the time we got to the final, it didn't seem all that far-fetched, despite how good Michael Smith had been playing up to that point. Because Ross Smith had been playing, if not as well as Michael Smith, pretty darn close over the 4 matches leading up to that. And he was a well-deserved, if very much an outside champion.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that makes this great sport what it is. Ross Smith, an unlikely winner of a major event this time last week, but given what we saw at the weekend, a fully deserved one, it has to be said. And you mentioned the averages that he threw during the tournament and also the calibre of players that he beat on the way. Joe Cullen, Dimitri Vandenberg, 2 major winners in the last 12, 18 months. Peter Wright, the world number 1, the reigning world champion, and 7 legs in a row against him from 8-3 down to win 10-8. And then the game against Chris Dobie, and he deserves a mention as well, doesn't he, for the run that he had at the weekend, getting that first win over Michael van Gerwen at the 12th attempt in that first round in the decider, then beating Jose de Souza and Dave Chisnell to get to the semi-finals. And that game, there was so much on the line for both players, a place in a first major final, a spot in the Grand Slam as an added bonus as well. But Ross Smith coming through that one. And then the final itself, he just looked so composed, so calm up on that stage. And this is someone playing in their first major final, and you would expect the performance levels that he's shown the whole weekend to maybe dip a little bit there, to be some nervous starts in there. But he looked like someone who'd been there and done it plenty of times before, and it wasn't a new experience for him. And you look right to the very start of the game, the first leg, 180, 133, finished 313 in 6 darts, a 12 darter to break in the first leg. And second leg, Michael Smith sat on 12. Ross Smith takes out 121 on the ball, and he had another 121 later on the ball with a 12 darter, 11 darter in there. And the amount of 5 visit legs that Ross Smith was producing, not just in the final, but during the whole tournament, he just kept the pressure on. And even at the finishing line, 9-8 up, kicks off the leg with a 43, but that didn't fluster him at all. He still looked composed, and he didn't give any tells really to Michael Smith that he was feeling the pressure at that key moment of the game, and held throw at 10-8, got over the line 11-8 with that 25 finish. And Christopher Kempf, good friend of the show, he tweeted that Ross Smith's checkout rate with 15 darts in TV events before last week was under 30%, 29.7%. This past weekend for that tournament, 50.7%. So his finishing was outstanding all the way through, and the averages that we spoke about, the average in the final, the 101.32, the third highest thrown by a player in the final of their first major title win in the PDC, and only Rob Cross and Johnny Clayton have thrown a higher average. That shows you what company he was in the final alone. And was it unexpected? Yes, but I don't think anyone, if you asked them to give a name that would win the European Championship this time last week, would have said Ross Smith. But the way he performed, a fully deserved winner. He's now in the top 20. Could this be the start of a run getting further up, being among the elite? Who knows? But if he carries on putting in performances like he did last weekend regularly on TV, then he is going to be a force to be reckoned with.